The bustling world of Best Buy was full of energy. Shoppers wandered the aisles, browsing the latest tech gadgets and chatting about their needs, while employees worked behind the counters helping customers. Among them was Mia, a young woman in her early 20s who had been working at the store for the past 2 years. She was friendly, hardworking, and always going the extra mile to ensure customers had a great shopping experience. But today something was off. Mia stood by the customer service desk, nervously adjusting her apron, her palms slick with sweat. Her manager, Gregory Adams, a middle-aged man with sharp features and an air of authority, had been speaking to her in a raised voice for the past several minutes. The scene was unfolding in front of several other employees and a few customers, all of whom seemed to sense the rising tension. "You've been late 3 times this week, Mia." 3 times. Gregory's voice was a whip of fury echoing off the walls. "I've had enough. You know what that means, right?" Mia opened her mouth, but words seemed to fail her. She'd been late a few times, yes. But the reason? A sick mother, late buses, and long shifts drained her. She wasn't perfect, but she had never missed a shift. She was just struggling. Gregory, I'm sorry," she stammered, her voice trembling with the weight of both fear and embarrassment. "I'm trying. It's hard. But I'm not a bad worker, please just..." "No excuses." Gregory snapped, cutting her off before she could finish her sentence. "I've had enough. I'm giving you one last chance, but if you screw up again, that's it. You're out. Understood?" Mia blinked, feeling the sting of tears in her eyes, her face flushed with humiliation. She wasn't sure if she should apologize again or fight back. But she had no chance. Gregory was a man who thrived on power, and she was nothing more than another employee to him, someone who could be discarded when convenient. As Gregory turned to walk away, his demeanor shifting back to the cool professionalism he was known for, Mia stood frozen, her heart racing. She felt small, unimportant, and helpless. But then, just as the storm seemed to have passed, a voice broke through the tension. "Excuse me, Mr. Adams, I couldn't help but overhear." Gregory froze mid-step. He turned slowly, a flash of irritation crossing his features. Behind him stood a young man, unassuming yet somehow radiating a quiet confidence that drew all eyes to him. His posture was relaxed, yet he stood with purpose, not afraid to interrupt. Mia's heart skipped a beat as she realized who it was. Barron Trump. Yes, the son of the former president. She had seen him in the store a few times before, always calm, always distant, never drawing attention to himself. He was a regular customer, never flaunting his last name, always polite to everyone. Gregory's expression hardened. "This is none of your business, young man," he snapped, clearly irritated that someone would dare intervene in his domain. Barron remained calm. "I think it is," he said, his voice low but firm. "What's going on here?" Gregory's eyes narrowed. "You heard me, didn't you? She's been late too many times and I'm not putting up with it anymore." Barron took a step closer, his eyes locked onto Gregory's. "I heard that. And I also heard you threatening to fire her for a couple of late shifts. Is that really how you handle things around here?" The air seemed to shift as everyone in the vicinity turned their attention to Barron. The other employees exchanged glances, unsure of what was happening. Mia's pulse quickened, her hands trembling as she waited for what would come next. Gregory's face flushed with anger. "Listen, kid, you have no idea what you're talking about. This is none of your business. You're just some spoiled brat who thinks he can come in here and play hero. Stay out of it." Barron's eyes didn't flinch. He wasn't backing down. "Actually, it is my business now," he said, his voice quiet but steady. "I'm not going to stand by and watch someone be treated like this." Mia blinked, uncertain of where this was going. Could Barron really be standing up for her? She had heard stories about Barron from the media, his quiet demeanor, his tendency to avoid the spotlight, but she had never imagined someone like him would step into this mess. Gregory chuckled sarcastically. "And what are you going to do about it, huh? Tell me, what's a rich kid like you going to do?" Barron didn't flinch. He turned his gaze toward Mia, who stood, frozen in place, her eyes wide and filled with confusion. He could see her struggle, her sense of helplessness. This wasn't just about a job for her, it was about her dignity. Barron knew he had to act. "You're firing her for a couple of late shifts?" Barron asked, his voice now rising with quiet intensity. "For a few things that were completely out of her control?" Gregory sneered. "People who work here need to show responsibility. If they can't handle it, then they shouldn't be working here." Barron shook his head, his expression softening with a quiet resolve. "That's not how it works. Responsibility means understanding when people are having a tough time. It's about helping them, not punishing them when life gets in the way. You don't fire someone for a few mistakes. You work with them. For the first time, Gregory hesitated. His chest rose and fell as if he were trying to maintain control, but Barron wasn't backing down. He was firm, his voice carrying authority beyond his years. Barron turned to Mia, his eyes softening. Mia, you don't deserve this. You've been doing your best, and people like Gregory don't get to make your life harder just because they can. Mia felt a rush of gratitude but also a flicker of disbelief. Was this really happening? Was Barron Trump, the son of a former president, really standing up for her? The weight of his words settled in her chest, and something inside her shifted. Maybe she wasn't invisible after all. Maybe someone cared. Turning back to Gregory, Barron continued, I'll tell you what, Gregory. I'll cover her mistakes. I'll pay for the damages to any customers, including any inconvenience she may have caused. And if you still want to fire her, then I'll be more than happy to take this up with your higher-ups. How's that sound? Gregory's jaw clenched. He hadn't expected this confrontation, and he certainly hadn't expected Barron to offer to pay for the damages. For a moment, he seemed to lose his composure, his face flushing with anger and embarrassment. You can't just walk in here and tell me what to do, Gregory snapped. You think I'm afraid of you? Barron didn't raise his voice. He remained calm and composed. No, Gregory. I don't think you're afraid of me. I think you should be afraid of losing your sense of humanity. Because if you think this is how leadership works, you're wrong. I'm offering to fix things and you're about to let your ego ruin someone's career. That's not a good look for anyone. The tension was palpable. Mia stood silently, watching the exchange with wide eyes. The room seemed to be holding its breath, waiting for the next move. For a long moment, Gregory stood still, his face turning red with frustration. He opened his mouth to argue, but Barron was unyielding. Finally, with a sharp breath, Gregory muttered, Fine. You win, kid. I'll let it slide this time. His voice was laced with reluctant resentment. But don't think you can walk in here again and tell me how to run my store. Barron nodded, his face unreadable. I'll take your word for it, Gregory. But just know this, it's not about power. It's about doing the right thing. That's what true leadership is. With one final glance at Mia, Barron turned and walked away. As he made his way toward the door, he could feel the weight of the room's collective gaze on him. He hadn't done this for recognition or applause. He'd done it because he believed in fairness and because Mia deserved a chance to keep her job. As Barron left the store, Mia's eyes filled with tears, not from fear or humiliation, but from an overwhelming sense of relief and gratitude. She had never expected a stranger to stand up for her. She had never imagined someone like Barron would care enough to make a difference. But he had. At that moment, Mia knew that not everything in life was about power or status. Sometimes, it was about the simple, courageous act of standing up for what was right. The next day, things at Best Buy were different. Gregory, though still stubborn, treated Mia with more respect. He didn't raise his voice or berate her. The environment at the store shifted. Customers could feel the difference and so could the employees. And though Barron never returned to the store, his impact lingered, a quiet reminder that one person's bold action could shift the tide in an unfair world. Mia felt a little more hopeful in her life. She was still working at Best Buy, but now, with a renewed sense of dignity and confidence, knowing that sometimes, all it takes is one person to remind the world of what's right.